Okay, so we're going to talk to you now about the Tatler CSP. And the Tatler CSP is a magazine, it's a fashion lifestyle magazine. And to start us off with then, let's talk about the conventions of a typical magazine cover. So to start off with, we will have the masthead. Okay, and this is normally at the top, and quite often the model will overlay the masthead. And this sometimes acts as a bit of a reward for the reader because you can spot the masthead even though it's partially obscured. Also, you could say it signifies the importance, in this case me, of the model and who the main article in the magazine is going to be about. The second thing is the mode of address. So sometimes the model will be looking off into the distance, and this is an indirect mode of address. However, most often the model is looking at the audience, and that is a direct mode of address where they're talking to you. The next thing then is the central image. In this case, it is often the model or the person of interest who the magazine will be about. Tatler is a fashion magazine, so it will almost always be about a person or a stylist, whereas in a gossip magazine such as Reveal, it'll be about the main story or the main celebrities, or in a film magazine like Empire, it'll be an actor as a character, or a video game magazine, it'll be about a character. The fonts, the typography, will have a range of different styles, and quite often these will link in. So for a fashion magazine, expect there to be fancy fonts and quite stylised typography. In a gossip magazine, expect there to be lots of different types of fonts to reflect the different kind of content you can expect to find. There'll be some colour palette. Again, with a fashion magazine, quite often these are makeup tones or feminine colours, or they link to the season as you would expect the fashion to link to the season as well. So depending on the month, you can depend on the kind of colour palette and also just in terms of the style. Then finally, you'll get a bit of anchorage. So you might have some cell lines or some subtext that will anchor what the main image is about, just explaining what's going on. You might also get some additional cell lines, and you might get some kind of, depending on the magazine, some kind of music special or some kind of loud, attention-grabbing kind of little pugs, we'll call them, like you get in newspapers. So they're the main conventions that you can expect to see on a magazine front cover. Okay, so the Tatler Magazine cover is a little bit different to a lot of the other kind of fashion magazines, and it's important for us to look at what's the same and what's different so we can look for those conventions of a fashion magazine and see how it's challenging those conventions. So to start off with then, your typical magazine conventions, like I say, will have the model, will have really stylish lettering. They normally don't have a background, or the background is very plain. It's more like a photo shoot, just like this one for example. You will also find that a lot of the content and the colour palette is very muted and stylised. It's generally quite subtle feminine tones, pinks, greys, silvers, that kind of colour palette. And quite often the model on the front will be wearing high-end fashion items, but they will also be in quite an unnatural pose. So for example, I'm standing as I would normally stand, but for a fashion magazine you'll notice with the examples I put up that they'll be standing in very unusual ways, which is reminiscent of a catwalk or that kind of fashion style. What's different then with the Tatler magazine is it's not a long shot, it's actually only a medium shot. and also it's a much more natural posture. Again, in contrast, we have a background, quite a detailed background, and the colour palette is not necessarily soft and muted, it's actually very loud, and the two colours, the vibrant loud pink and the very lively lime green, they really juxtapose against each other, and so it's quite a loud, glaring kind of style here, which reflects the fact that it's for a younger audience. It's aimed at millennial Sloanes, which are upper class, very wealthy females of a young age, and so it's evident that it's targeting quite a young, loud, fashion conscious audience. In contrast then, we also have the fact that the masthead is no longer behind the model, it's in front of the model, and again that signifies the importance of this magazine. In addition to that, it is, although it is stylised and although it is quite a slim, elongated, it's got serifs with the typography, it is also quite traditional in its sense. It's still quite formal, and that's again reflective of the fact that Tatler is an old publication. It's been around for a long time, and the name Tatler has a lot of connotations of wealth and tradition